a link. Swamiji has come in.
If everyone has come, we can start. Otherwise, we have a minute.
Has everybody come, Vibhaji? Shall I start, Swamiji?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Hari Om. Welcome to our annual Devi Group Talk by Swami Swatmananji. I request all of you to mute your audio and keep your videos on. We welcome Swami Swatmananji, Acharya Chinmaya Mission, Mumbai, with the traditional Purna Kumbh. Smita Tapuria, Nandini Halwasya, and Archana Agarwal from Vibhaji Mittal's Monday class will be offering the Purna Kumbh.
Om na karmana na prajaya dhanena tyage naike amritatvamana parena nakam nihitam guhayam vibhrajade tadyatayo vishanti vedanta vijnana sunishchitarthaha sannyasa yogadyataya shuddha sattva ब्रह्मलोके तु परान्तकाले परामृतात् परिमुच्यन्ते सर्वे दहरं विपापं परमेश्वभूतं यत् पुण्डरीकं पुरमध्यसङ्गस्थं तत्रापि दहरं गगनं विशोकस्तस्मिन् यदन्तस्तदुपासितव्यम्
तो वेदादो स्वरः प्रोक्तो वेदान्ते च प्रतिष्ठितः तस्य प्रकृतिर्लीनस्य यत्परस्य महेश्वरः।
बोलिए श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय।
Thank you, Smita, Archana, and Nandini. I now invite Chandni Hitkari and Neelam Mani from Vibhaji's Tuesday class for the invocation.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्।
Thank you, Chandni and Neelam. I call upon Basanti Didwania, Bharti Desai, Anjali Barlia, and Janki Kapadia, all from Vibhaji's Wednesday class, to chant the Guru Stotram, followed by a Guru Bhajan by Sucharita Krishnan, who is also from the same class.
You can unmute now.
What's happening?
Basanti, Bharti, Anjali, Janki.
Janki has to start.
Okay, never mind if she's not there.
Somebody else
I
start.
think she has raised her hand. Priya Didwania, it says raised her hand.
I'll
Yes,
start.
Miss
It's
Suma.
okay. I'll start with the 4 verses. Should I start?
Yeah,
Please,
please.
Basanti. Thank you.
With the 3 Basanti, I'm doing 4 onwards.
All right. All right. All right. Akhanda mandalakaram vyaptam yena characharam tatpadam darshitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha ajnanaतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः
स्थावरं जङ्गमं व्याप्तं यत्किञ्चित् सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः चिन्मयं व्यापि यत् सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः सर्वश्रुतिशिरोरत्न विराजितपदाम्बुजः वेदान्ताम्बुजसूर्यो यः तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः
चैतन्य शाश्वतो शान्तो व्योमातीतो निरञ्जन बिन्दुनाथ कलातीतः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः ज्ञानशक्ति समारूढ तत्त्वमाला विभूषित भुक्तिमुक्ति प्रदाता च तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः अनेक जन्म संप्राप्त कर्म बंध विदाहिने आत्मज्ञान प्रदानेन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः शोषणं भवसिन्धोश्च ज्ञापनं सारसम्पदः गुरोपादोदकं सम्यक् तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः
Basanti, you're muted.
न गुरोरधिकं तत्त्वं न गुरोरधिकं तपः तत्त्वज्ञानात् परं नास्ति तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः मन्नाथः श्री जगन्नाथः मद्गुरु श्री जगद्गुरु मदात्मा सर्वभूतात्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः गुरुरादिरनादिश्च गुरु परमदैवतं गुरु परतरं नास्ति तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव
जय जयति श्री गुरुदेव जी शरणागतं जय जयति श्री गुरुदेव जी शरणागतं प्रणमामि त्वं गुरुदेव जी शरणागतं जय जयति श्री गुरुदेव जी योगी मुनि साधु ऋषि पामन महर्षि आप ही जय संत पूर्ण ब्रह्म जी शरणागतं शरणागतं जय जयति श्री गुरुदेव जी। ब्रह्मा जी है तो आप ही, विष्णु जी है तो आप ही, शिव माँ शिव जी आप ही, शरणागतं शरणागतं जय जयति श्री गुरुदेव जी। माता पिता है आप ही, बंधु सखा है आप ही, है मेरे सर्वस्व आप ही, है मेरे सर्वस्व आप ही, शरणागतं शरणागतं जय जयति श्री गुरुदेव जी। शरणागतं शरणागतं प्रणमामि त्वं गुरुदेव जी। शरणागतं 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 शरणागतं।
A hearty thank you to all of you. It is with deep gratitude I, Pushpa Palat, Sevika and a student of Vibhaji's Wednesday class, take this opportunity to warmly welcome Swami Swatmanandji on behalf of all of us present here today. We have with us 3 of Vibhaji's Devi groups, 1 Devi group of Darshana Ji Kadadia, 1 Devi group of Chandni Hitkari, and 1 Devi group of Chandni Hitkari and Pushpa Palat combined. Swamiji, you have generously granted us each year an exclusive session for our group on a topic of our choice. This year, the topic we have chosen is the composition of the Puranas by Maharishi Vedvyas as a dramatization of the subtle knowledge of the Upanishads and an explanation as to how the 2 texts are connected. So without further delay, over to you, Swamiji, with my humble pranams.
Om Shri Tapovan Paramagurave Namaha. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Samastajana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam. Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya Vyasarupaya Vishnave. Namo Vai Brahma Nidhaye Vasisthaya Namo Namaha. नमोस्तुते व्यासविशाल बुद्धे फुल्ला रविंदायत पत्र नेत्र येन त्वया भारत तैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमय प्रदीपः. Hari Om and my salutations to all of you. So very happy to be back amidst all of you once again, and very nice to know that some of you who have been Sevika, who have been students earlier, have now started classes also. So congratulations to all of you, Vibhaji, Darshana ji, Chandni ji, Pushpa ji. Gurudev wanted the Grahasthas to be the walking, talking ambassadors of our culture. And he also had said, anybody who has done Kindle Life, Atmabodh, Bhajagovindam should start a class and teach these things, share these things with others while continuing to attend the class and continuing to upgrade one's knowledge. So the idea is that becomes our sadhana, Manan sadhana. So I do hope that 46 of you are here Out of 46 of you, 4 of you are Sevikas right now. By next year, another 10, 20 become Sevikas, and more people you are able to reach out. So the topic that you have chosen is an interesting topic. The connection between the Vedas and the Puranas, and the objective of Bhagavan Vedavyasa to write the Puranas is to explain the subtle truths of Vedanta actually. So the Vedic knowledge is revealed knowledge. It is called Shruti. It is revealed by the Lord to great masters at different places, different points in time. And it was an oral tradition that it was passed on to the disciples from the teacher. Bhagavan Vedavyasji is the one who compiled it in the form of the books. And he classified the books. Each book, broad division, it is not a very rigid division. So Karma Kand, Upasana and Jnana Kand, 3 parts of the Veda. Karma Kand is to fulfill desires, Upasana is to meditate, make the mind single pointed, and Jnana Kand is the knowledge of the self. So the entire Vedic knowledge, the purpose is finally to understand the oneness between Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. Now, as we know, the knowledge of the Vedas very subtle, and especially the Upanishads, the knowledge we find there is not easy to understand by everybody. Upanishads follow that path where the subtlest of knowledge is given first so that the Uttam Adhikari gets it immediately. Then it is simplified, explained little more so that the Madhyam Adhikari gets it. If still one is not able to understand, then the Upanishads give upasanas and ways and means to integrate the mind. So values will be prescribed, upasanas will be also given. By itself, the Veda is complete in itself actually. But over a period of time, we have also lost a lot of Vedic knowledge, plus subtle knowledge, and the principles are given there very clearly. But human mind cannot grasp only the principles. It also needs examples, role models to identify with and to evolve. So we find that the Puranic literature is called as the magnifying glass of the Veda. It is by this analogy is given by the great seer of Kanchi, who is called Kanchi Paramacharya, Chandrasekhar Saraswati ji. He calls the Puranas as the magnifying glass of the Vedas. So what does the magnifying glass do? When we take the magnifying glass close to the, let us say, the book which is written, the alphabets there get magnified. We see them in a more clearer way. So what is given in cryptic form in the Upanishads will be elaborated in the Puranas gloriously so that we can understand better. For example, if it is said Satyam Vada, speak the truth. Now the Puranas will explain through demonstration. So we have a lot of stories in the Puranas. So for example, if we say the story of Harishchandra or the story of Yudhishthir himself, who always spoke the truth, Then we have Dharmam Chara. So Taittiriya Upanishad says this, Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara, Matradevo Bhava, Pitrudevo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. So we find that Dharmam Chara. So Bhagavan Ram's life will be entire depiction of this Dharmam Chara. Or Matrudevo Bhava, Pitrudevo Bhava. Again, Bhagavan Ram's life is a symbolism of that whole sentence from the Upanishad. Or Acharya Devo Bhava. So Ekalavya story one can use. Like that, there are many examples where the Upanishadic statements are demonstrated through the life of a person. Now, the word Purana itself. What is the meaning of Purana? Pura api nutanam iti Puranam. That which is ancient yet new is called Purana. What is ancient yet new? The same thing cannot be by itself ancient and new. Because ancient is what we say is old in time. New is what is right now, or what is not, what was not there and is now created. How can that be one thing which is ancient and new together? So the word Purana indicates timelessness. That which is timeless is called Purana. And so the literal meaning of the word Purana is Atma. Because even in the Gita you will find, Upanishads you will find, Purana is the pointer of Atma. Like Kathopanishad and the second chapter of the Gita, they say, Kavim Purana Manushasitaram. Sorry, 8th chapter of the Gita, not second chapter. 8th chapter says Kavim Puranam. Second chapter says Ajo Nitya Shashvatoyam Puranaha Nahanyate Hanyamane Sharire. That is second chapter of the Gita. So Purana means what? Purana means that which is eternal, which is timeless, which means self. So the objective of Purana is equal to the objective of Veda, which is to reveal the knowledge of the self to us. One. It is to reveal the oneness of that self. The self in me, the self in the creation, and the self in the Supreme are one. So Jiva Brahmaikya is the very purpose of Purana also. The methodology used is little different, that is all. But both are meant for the same purpose, that is to realize the absolute truth. Now, Vedic literature, as we know, extremely subtle, not easy to understand. And Puranic literature, what we do is we generally dismiss Puranic literature as only stories. And many times we even question, are these stories even historical? Did they even really happen? So please remember, we have this Purana, the literature Purana is a special category of literature. We have Shruti, then we have Smriti, and we have Purana. Shruti is the Vedas. Smriti is all the Dharma Shastras like Manu Smriti, Yajnavalkya Smriti, Parashar Smriti, which are the application of the eternal principles of Veda as per their time. So the flexibility of Sanatan Dharma comes from this, the Smriti part. But both these are elaborating principles and situations in which they have to be applied, and what if some wrong thing happens, what is the negative consequence, what is the Prayaschitta, how should a Grahasthi live, how should a Brahmachari live, how should a Vanaprasthi, Sannyasi live. All that is described in the Purana, in the scriptures, which are Smriti, and even in Veda it will be described. But the demonstration of it happens through the lives of various types of people in the Puranas. So that Puranic literature is very, very powerful, and it is accessible to all. See, Vedas not everybody can understand, but Puranas are accessible to all. But what happens is, when we don't have the foundation of this basic purpose of the Purana, then we start going into the nitty-gritties. Is this even possible? oh, this is all mythology. I don't think this is very real, or it's all just imagination of people. So we reject that literature. If we understand human psychology, whether a thing has happened or not happened has its limited relevance only. What is important is our mind is inspired by those ideals, and then we are able to live it. So if there are people who have lived certain values and they have gone through difficult times, and yet in those difficult times they have lived those values, then definitely you and I can live. Maybe our circumstances are little different, but basic human struggle to follow principles, to overcome one's own weaknesses, to come out of one's own comfort zone, that remains the same. Only the external situation may be different. And so we find that this literature is a very beautiful literature. And if we have studied basic philosophy and certain books like Tattva Bodh, Atma Bodh, some, few chapters of the Gita, Bhaj Govindam, some of these ones we have studied, then we go into the Puranic literature. There's such glory and beauty in the Puranic literature. Because, see, many things we learn even from Panchatantra or not. In that there are stories of what? There are stories of animals there. Do we dismiss it saying, how can a cat talk, and how can a fox talk, and how can a lion talk? What is all this nonsense? No. We learn so many things from there, and they are lessons. Two dogs were fighting for bread, and the cat took it and ran away. Simple story, right? We find it happening in our life or not? Two people are fighting, the beneficiary is somebody else only. Forget happening in individual life. In countries it is happening. Two countries fight with each other, some third person becomes a beneficiary and gets, So it is not necessary that everything has to be historical only. So even if we say there are historical people, let us say, Vivekananda was a historical person or not? A historical person. How much are we able to learn from his life and apply in our life? Not everybody will learn and apply. So many great scientists, sportsmen, leaders, industrialists, artists, they all are historical people. How much are we able to learn from them depends on what is our attitude. It does not depend on historicity at all. Historicity, as I said, has only limited relevance. So we should not approach Puranic literature thinking, oh, this is all only story. And please remember, it is not mythology. That is a wrong translation of the word Purana. As I said, the word Purana means timeless wisdom. That's the meaning of Purana. And in the Purana also, there is two categories. One is called Itihasa Purana, which are only Ramayana and Mahabharata. They are completely historical. It may be expressed in a poetic way. In history, one cannot add one's own stories. In history, one has to report what has happened. But the history that you and I study, in the name of history, vested interests, opinions are taught to us. And we believe that also. And then we question Puranic literature. That is the hypocrisy that we have come into in today's life. So many things which have not even happened are reported to us, and we study as history, we memorize, we repeat, and we pass it on to other people also, and we believe that is true history. And so many things which have actually happened are not even taught. So we don't even know it. How many people know that so many Mughal kings were defeated and captured and even tortured, as prisoners by some of the kings of Rajasthan. We are not even taught all that. We are only taught about the battles which we lost. So history itself today has got manipulated. So, and what is that history that we have? 5,000-year-old history maximum. The entire history circles only around Christ and his birth. So before Christ, after Christ. Creation is millions of years old. So when we go into Puranic literature, we have to go with this open mind that what is there to learn in it. And it's very fascinating what all the Puranic literature covers. So as I was saying, Itihasa is, the word Itihasa means Itiha Asa, it thus happened. So Itihasa Purana is Ramayana and Mahabharata. Now why do we say they are Itihasa Purana? Because they are, the authors of both these were present while it was happening and they recorded it. Valmiki Rishi and Vedavyasa Rishi, they not only recorded it, they were a part of that story also. Without Vedavyasa Rishi, Mahabharata would not have gone ahead at all. This Dhritarashtra, Pandu and Vidur are the children of Vedavyasa Rishi. Valmiki Rishi's ashram is where Sita ji was left by Lakshmanji in the forest. Love and Kush, etc. learned under Valmiki Rishi and Sita ji. So they are called Itihasa Purana. So Itihasa Purana is Ghatana Pradhan. They are event oriented. And this other literature, which we don't call as Itihasa Puran, does not mean it does not have history, but it has many other things added into it. It has cosmology, it has science, it has mysticism, it has poetry, it has, some part of history. There are lots of things added into that. Many possibilities that can happen in future also are there in it. So that is called Shiksha Pradhan. It is mainly for education and knowledge. Don't try to judge Purana by history only. Oh, is this real? Do you really think that there is a Samudra Manthan that happened? Where is the water up there? And there the Manthan happened, and then 4 drops fell on the earth, and these are the places where Kumbh Mela is held. I don't believe any of this Samudra Manthan happened. Then we are missing out on the real essence of that story. So that one point to understand, that how we approach Purana. So first is to understand certain fundamentals of the Indian scriptures and especially Vedanta. The science of Vedanta, if we study, then enter into Puranas, we will enjoy it like anything. So Gurudev always used to say, Purana is the last literature that you should read, especially if you are students of Vedanta, then definitely read some Upanishads, then go into Puranic literature. Then you see the way you will enjoy that Puranic literature. It's like PhD in philosophy. And look at the genius of Vedavyasa Bhagavan. That knowledge, which is actually a PhD in Vedanta or philosophy, can be studied even by a small child because it's given in story form. So the same story for a small child will mean something else. For a spiritual seeker will mean completely different thing. How beautiful is that? So this is one aspect. Then coming to the main broad divisions of a Purana. 5 main divisions of a Purana. First is Sarga, so the creation. Now everybody is curious to know about what is this creation, from where did it come, who created it, how it was created, why it was created. All of us have questions. We may not have questions about who am I, but we definitely have questions about creation. Because we get affected by the creation on a day-to-day basis, by the people, by the objects, by the things. So, Puranic literature explains about 2 types of creation. First topic is Sarga, second topic is Pratisarga or Visarga. So first is the fundamental creation. Let us say that is the 5 elements. Then comes the permutation and combination of these 5 elements, which makes the variety in this creation. That is called Pratisarga or Visarga. So in Bhagavatam it is said Brahmaji was created by Bhagwan Vishnu, Mahanarayana, Mahavishnu. And 5 elements etc. are created, and then further the creation is taken ahead by Brahmaji through the Manus and all that, the story goes ahead. Now that's a story form. And Nabhi of Mahavishnu, Brahmaji is created, and that Brahmaji then created Manu etc. and then the whole creation happens. But it's a depiction of Vedantic principle. Brahman plus Maya becomes Ishvara. That Ishvara only becomes Hiranyagarbha, which is Brahmaji. That Brahmaji only further creates creation from himself, that is Virat. So if I have studied Vedanta, then I go into the Puranic story, I will clearly see, this is what the Upanishad said is elaborated here in the Puranas. And what is the objective of understanding creation in the Veda? The objective of understanding creation in the Veda is to understand that creation is an illusion and creation is only an appearance of that infinite consciousness. So the duality that we are seeing, because of which there is fear, anxiety, worry, stress, continuously I have to prove myself in the world continuously is challenging me. All that which is there is because I don't know that there is one truth which is in my heart, which is appearing as this creation. So the objective of study of the creation is this, to understand the unity behind the plurality. That's the objective of the Vedas, which is the same objective in the Purana also. But Puranic literature will say all this is appearance of one great supreme Lord. And whichever Lord is that form which the devotee loves, that form will be the supreme. That's another beauty of Puranas. In Vedic literature, we find the description of Brahman is Sagun, Nirgun, Nirakar. Vedic literature also elaborates about Sagun Nirakar, that is Omkar. Vedic literature also has form, but it is not, in the Upanishads, the form is not highlighted. It is highlighted in the Puranas. And so these Puranas are divided into different categories. I will come to that categories later. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, main 3 categories. 18 Puranas divided into 6 for each. I will explain that later. We were on the 5 main topics of the Purana. So Sarga and Visarga. So the objective of Sarga and Visarga is to see that one truth appears as this whole creation. So you will find the devotees like Prahlad example, if you see from Bhagavatam, that Bhagwan alone is everywhere. So he doesn't have any fear at all. He is thrown from the top of a mountain, he is drowned in the ocean, elephants try to crush him. He revels in bhakti of the Supreme Lord. And then when his father says, your Vishnu is there in this pillar, he says, yes. So that's the depiction of the Vedantic truth, that there is one all-pervading reality, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. Now that also gets personified. Now please remember, this personification is not that human being has created out of imagination. That is our problem. We say that no, God doesn't take any form. It is man who has created God's form, only for support. And these forms are not real. These are real forms. Devotees have experienced these forms also. And not only Puranic times, but even in the present times, so many devotees who have been there in the last century, even earlier, historically, they have had darshan of Bhagwan in those forms when they have done the upasanas. So we should not think that these forms are just created by imagination of, no. As I said, the Puranic literature is based on the Vedas. Forms are defined, are described in the Vedas also. Forms of not only Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, but even Devatas, Indra, Varuna, Vayu, Agni, Rudra, all of them. Those forms are there in the Puranas. So the objective of understanding Sarga and Pratisarga is to understand the creator. So through the creation, we are going to the creator, which is again the methodology of the Upanishads. From the known, we go to the unknown. And to understand this creation also, the various classifications that are given based on the guna, based on the karma. So all the varna vyavastha also will be there as far as human beings are concerned. And different species also are listed. Many beautiful aspects will be said. 4 types of beings. I'm just giving one example. Those beings who are born from moisture, Svedaja. Those beings who are born from, so moisture is all the small insects and flies and all that. Then those which are born from the earth, Udbhija. So they are the plants and the trees, etc. Then those who are born from Andaja, from the egg. So the chicken and all of that. And those who are born from Jarayuja, from the womb. So human beings and other creatures. So now you just see the creation, all different types of beings are classified beautifully in these 4. So there is a way of understanding the creation and its multiplicity also in the Puranas. And through that, one will also be taken finally to oneness. So Sarga and Pratisarga helps to understand both these. And based on this classification, then our Vyavahar also is important. Now, Purana does not talk only about creation as what we see. Now, that's another beautiful point of Purana to understand. Purana does not say that only what I see is Srishti, because what I see is very limited. Purana will say, Arey, there are 14 worlds in one Brahmanda. Like that, there are Ananta Koti Brahmandas. And we are still searching for life on any other planet in this solar system. But Puranas say there are lives in many planets, there are many Brahmandas, which today science is saying that the creation is not universe, it is multiverse. There are many, many universes existing, parallel universes existing, so they are called multiverse. Now that is Purana. What science is saying today is what Purana has also been saying for a long time. So the understanding of creation itself expands when we study the Puranas. We don't think of creation only as what I see is real and this much alone is Purana, or this much alone is creation. No, no, no. It becomes very vast. So what does it do? The mind of ours, which is very small, which thinks only what it knows is the reality, that mind expands. Just imagine the expansion of the mind of a person who has studied the Puranas. What will be the, in today's modern language, what is the world view? What is your world view? What is my world view? This creation is huge. What is visible is one small little speck in that infinite consciousness. That is my view of creation. World view is that. And what is the worldview? All of us are one. That is the worldview. Think about it. If world has to be at peace and development has to happen and there has to be love and harmony, don't we require this worldview that we all are one? Or do we require the divisions and fights and hatred and violence and what is going on in the world? Think about it. In any form, we are killing each other, destroying each other. Based on the caste, creed, community, gender, religion, economics, science, anything. And all different types of warfare. It's not only physical war, violence, intellectual violence, historical violence, emotional violence, biological warfare, all kinds of violence is happening. Why? Because we don't see oneness. Forget realizing consciousness and seeing the whole creation as one. We don't even see that we all are human beings. We all are living beings and go on killing and destroying each other. Somebody who studies the Purana understands their view of creation will be different. They will definitely have more Shraddha, their logical abilities will improve, and they will try to see oneness in this whole creation. And devotion will arise. The beautiful aspect is when we see the creation, we admire the Creator, devotion for that Supreme Lord will arise. One doesn't keep Bhagwan somewhere up there in the heaven. One says all this is divine. So Sarga and Visarga have this purpose. And that's the purpose of the Vedas, the Upanishads. The objective is not to understand only how the creation came, because creation is not real. That's the fundamental difference between Vedic knowledge and science. For science, creation is real. Now they go on finding out what is the cause of it. Vedanta and Purana will say it is not real, it is illusory. What is real is only the truth, substratum, which is Brahman, which is consciousness. That alone is real. So we should not think that Puranic literature is any lesser or it is only stories. It is beautiful literature giving us so much knowledge about the creation. So many things about the botany will be there, biology is there, zoology is there, names of creatures, names of birds, names of plants. So many things are there in this Puranic literature. It's amazing. So that is one part. Sarga and Visarga, two aspects of a Purana. Then third aspect is Manvantara. Now creation is there, but how do the living beings live? So Brahmaji creates Manu. Now think about the time span also. Like I said, the understanding of creation and variety itself is increasing in Puranas. When we study the Puranas, our understanding increases. Time also increases. We look at, as I said, our history is some 5,000 years old, but what does science say? Creation is minimum 13.2 billion years old, is what science is saying today. In 13.2 billion years, definitely human beings have existed for at least some hundreds and millions of years. It is not that we have existed only for 5,000 years. So the time span that Puranas give is so amazing. What does that Puranic time span say? One Chaturyugi or one Kalpa is 43.2 lakh years. So 4.3 million years. That is one Chaturyugi. After that, Pralay happens. Then again another Chaturyugi starts. Like that, 1,000 Chaturyugis when they happen, that is one day of Brahmaji's life. 360 days of these 1,000 cycles becomes 1 year of Brahmaji's life. Like that, 100 years Brahmaji lives. Now look at the time span. And that Brahmaji also is a position. It is said the next Brahmaji will be Hanumanji. Succession planning, if you want to learn from the Puranas. Look at the time span. In that, what is our time span? We are living hardly 100 years of human life. What is human life? 100 years. But it makes us realize that this opportunity is so precious that in this human life alone, I can recognize that I am that infinite timeless consciousness, which is Purana. So don't waste this human life in petty things. Because when the next human life comes, no idea. So in this time span that creation gives us, we understand that time itself is a relative concept. See, the point is many of us don't believe all this, but then we believe science fiction. I don't know if you saw, I have not seen that movie, but I heard Interstellar. You saw Interstellar? In that, this father who has gone from Earth to space and he goes to some planet somewhere or he goes to space somewhere, for him it is 1 year there, what he has spent, but when he comes back, his daughter has become old. We accept, "Arey, kya baat hai, yeah, what a science, you know." And Einstein also said, speed at the what is that, speed of light, if you travel, then time becomes zero and you go into a different state altogether. Very good, amazing, this is science. Are Purana is saying the same thing that we dismiss as superstition. When we say that 1 year of hours is equal to 1 day of hours, 1 year of hours is equal to 1 day for the Pitrus, we don't believe only. So when we do Shraddha every year for 16 years, it is taking care of 16 days of the Pitrus in their loka. As simple as that. So there is, the whole understanding of time becomes so different, and even that understanding of time is cyclical. That's such a beautiful thing, which today again science has come to. Earlier the concept of science was time is linear, which many scientists believe even today. But now they have come to cyclical. When we say Satyug, Tretayug, Dwapar-yug, Kali-yug, then Pralay, and again Satyug starts. Today science is saying universe is a constantly expanding state, and then it will go into contracting, again it will go into expanding. It goes through cycles of expansion and contraction. Same thing Puranas also saying to us. So in this span of the Chatur Yuga, how the human mind is at the best in Satyug, then it declines in Treta Yuga, then let more decline in the Dwapar Yuga, and it is at its worst in Kali Yuga. So time and mind are also connected. Then how to live in these type of times? That is Dharma Palan. So what sadhanas to be done in Satyug are not the sadhanas which will be successful for the masses in the Kali Yuga. In Satyug, people were doing Nididhyasana. Today we try to do Nididhyasana, our mind is so disturbed. So what is the sadhana for Kali Yuga? Chant the name of Bhagavan. Namasmaran is the sadhana for Kali Yuga. Satyam, speak truth, is the sadhana for Kali Yuga. One has to do that. Keep doing. Through that, one will get liberated. The Kali Yuga may be the worst of the 4 yugas, but from sadhana standpoint, it is the easiest sadhana which helps the person to realize the truth, which is Nama Japa. So Parikshit Raja spared Kali Yuga. In Bhagavatam it comes. So point to understand is the Yuga Dharma we understand. See, this Yuga Dharma, if we understand, that also shows to us the flexibility of our culture. So many cultures have become very rigid and fanatic, and so they either perish or they create a lot of trouble for the people, and people are not able to follow it. This Yuga Dharma is beautiful. It keeps telling us how to change over a period of time. So when this Manvantara is there, the creation is taken forward by Brahmaji through the Manus. So it is said, in 1 day of Brahmaji, which is 1000 Chaturyugis, 14 Manus will come. And each Manu's duty is to establish Dharma and ensure that the beings are following Dharma. So Sarga and Visarga tell about the creation and the creatures. Manvantara tells about how the creatures should live in Dharma. What kind of values they should follow, what are the challenges that will come in following these values, how to overcome these, what are the consequences of the Adharma Palan. So Dharma and Karma are so closely connected. So when we do good, we get good results. When we do bad, we get bad results. And it is an automated system. So even the devotee, if the devotee has done wrong karma, will get negative result. And even a so-called sinner has done good karma, will get the good result. Only thing is, we expect in our time, to see those results. That may not happen. It will happen as per the cosmic intelligence and the samashti karma of all the collective karma of all the jivas. And luckily it happens like that. If everybody's wish is fulfilled as per their time period, just imagine the chaos. 2 cricket teams want to win, and both of them are allowed to win at the same time. How will there be? You can't play the game. So the point to understand is dharma and karma are elaborated through this Manvantara, and how different Manus establish dharma in different ways, and how Bhagwan also takes avatar in different Manvantaras to re-establish dharma. If Manu can't establish by himself, Bhagwan takes avatar. And how does Manu establish? Through saints, sages, devotees, great masters. Manu will establish dharma. We are right now doing the 3rd chapter in the Bhagavatam. In that we see Swayambhu, Manu and Shatrupa. They got their daughter married to Devahuti, married to Kardam Rishi. And this Kardam Rishi and Devahuti got 9 daughters. They got married to the other great rishis of Brahmaji, the sons of Brahmaji. And then they take the creation forward. So there is Jnana, Vairagya, Bhakti, Dharma, Karma, Karma Phala, and the lokas where one will enjoy or go through the Karma Phala also are given. 14 lokas. If you want to know which loka, what all goes through, read the Puranic literature. It will have all descriptions. Like before you go to, suppose you want to go to, right now Iceland is a very good place to go. If you want to settle down, go to Iceland. Because 4 days a week they have work week. Work week is only 4 days a week. And they have not seen any dip in productivity. It's amazing and beautiful place to stay. Now, will you just land up there or will you do research? What is the place there? How are the conditions? Where to stay? What kind of people live there? What is the lifestyle there? What kind of earning can we have? You will do all research now before you go. Our Shastra says after you die, you will go to one of the 14 lokas. Do you not want to know where will you go? Which loka, what will be there? No, Swamiji, I have taken a ticket. I am just going to land up in Iceland and then figure out for myself how to do whatever. We'll see. Does anybody land up like that in any country? To land up there itself, they will ask you how many days you are going, what is the purpose of your visit, visa, etc. They won't give otherwise. Here, to Bhagwan is very compassionate. No, he is not asking any of these questions. So we are not even studying Puranas. Suppose you land up in Vitala Loka. What will you do in Vitala Loka? Do you know? No, Swamiji, we have studied. We are not going to go to down. We will go up only. Acha, Swarga Loka also, what will you do? Do you know? What will be your gati in Pitralok? Do you know? Which method you will go from here to Pitralok? Do you know the route? Do you know who will guide you there? Are there guides available, not available? Suppose all the guides are busy, what will you do? Where will you wait? Where is the, what is it called? Travel lounge. Transit lounge. Where is the transit lounge? Suppose you get trapped in Preta Sharir. How to come out of Preta Sharir? Do we know? No, Swamiji, we don't know any of this. Then, best Swamiji, we believe there is only one life. YOLO. You only live once. There is no before life. There is no after life. We are modern thinkers. Very good. प्रेत बन के लटकोगे तब याद करना कि अरे स्वामी जी ने बोला था पुराण पढ़ लो अब क्या करेंगे फंस गए यहाँ पर Puranic literature gives all this beautiful knowledge. See, again I'm saying the block in our mind is this all real? It is real. In the relative world, this is relatively real, and as long as I have Jiva Bhav, this is there. The problem is we don't believe our Shastra. We want validation of our Shastra through Western eyes. That is our problem. We are stuck there. If a Raymond Moody says there is life after life and this book he has written life after life and he coined the term near-death experience, NDE. we don't want to believe. We will believe that, but we don't want to believe that Ajamil had near-death experience in Bhagavatam. He had actually a near-death experience. It's not that Ajamil died taking the name of Narayana and he was taken away by the Dut of Vishnu to Bhagwan. No. He called out Narayana in that state where he was about to die, and instead of Yamadutas, he saw Vishnu Dutas coming. And he said, if I just chant the name of Narayana, who is my son, this is the impact. What if I actually become devotee of Bhagwan? He recovered from his illness. He didn't die. If you read the Bhagavatam, you will know. He didn't die. He transformed. Now that is actually a near-death experience. He went out, he came back. But we will dismiss it as a story. It's all a story only. It's a proper fact. So what are the lokas? What happens? What type of bodies we get? And even forget that next life. In this life to live itself, what the Vedic knowledge tells us is elaborated in this Purana. Like our body is made up of Pancha Mahabhut. But do we know which is the main ingredient of this body? Of the 5 elements, human body's main ingredient is what? We may say, Swamiji, water. 70% of the body is water. That is from science standpoint, we are saying. But from Purana standpoint and Vedic standpoint, this is Prithvi Pradhan Sharir. That's why this stinks. Because smell is the quality of earth. Bhuta Preta Pishacha are Vayu Pradhan Sharir. Devatas is Agni Pradhan Sharir. So different beings have different bodies to experience different results, different capabilities they have. So many things we don't know even about our bodies here, our life here. Puranic literature elaborates all that beautifully and teaches us how to live in dharma and gives us examples of devotees, role models, all that. So that was the third topic, which is the Manvantara, the term of the Manus. So each Manu will have a certain term. So as I said, one day of Brahmaji will have 14 Manus. And through that vast canvas of time, we are told that use this limited time to realize the eternal. And that is possible in a human life. So Sarga, Pratisarga, Manvantara, then comes Vamsha and Vamshanucharita, the solar and the lunar dynasties, and the various people who have come in these dynasties. See, Kanchi Paramacharya, he says very nicely, I'm just going to quote him. Quote, our nation, it is often alleged, does not have a sense of history. In my opinion, the Puranas are history. Because if you read the literature of the Puranas, it is amazing. Like you see Bhagwan Ram, I'm just giving one example from the Itihasa Purana, Ramayana. Bhagwan Ram's ancestors, right from Ikshvaku onwards up to Bhagwan Ram, then Lav Kush and the 12 further generations of Lav Kush, all that is given. That is called Vamshanucharita. All these are historical kings. They are not kings who are mythological. They all are historical kings. That is our history. Our history is not limited to this creation. Our history continues even creation after creation. Because Puranas, they say very clearly that in every Kalpa, Ramayana happens again. In every Kalpa, Mahabharata happens again. So this keeps repeating. And the details are available. So many dynasties are given. If we actually want to write history of India, we should write using those things. Because what we have today, our history is again, as I said, very limited. That also is twisted by so many people. But Puranas have proper history accounts. And through that, what is important to understand is there have been good people, there have been bad people, there have been a mixture of all that, good and bad, and what kind of life they have led, what results they faced, and how they transformed from bad to good, and how they went beyond goodness to realize absolute self. All that is explained through the Vamsha and Vamshanucharita. And we need these role models to purify our mind. Without these role models, it becomes impossible to have faith in the values. Like today in management also, what they will do, they will give you case studies. Case study of this company or this great leader and how this person achieved such things and what are the things you can learn from it, how much you can apply. These are called case studies. And why should we read the history and all these things? Because the tendency is history repeats itself. Because human beings don't learn their lessons. And one reason why we don't learn our lessons is we learn history as history. We do not learn history through dharma. Purana is history plus dharma. What was the right way to act? What was not the right way to act? If the history is taught with the lessons accompanying that and we follow those lessons, history will not repeat itself. But when we don't follow those lessons, history repeats itself, and again same sorrow, suffering, difficulties we go through. Simple example I will give you. Ahimsa has been so misinterpreted in our country, even though all our devatas have weapons, all our gods have weapons. Yet, in the name of Ahimsa, we have time and again dropped our weapons, and Kshatriyas have dropped weapons, and invaders have come, destroyed us, looted us, ruled over us. Some places people fought, there was resistance, there is no doubt. But by and large, we gave up our arms. Till we have not given up our arms, we were not conquered by anybody. But when we gave up our arms, then people obviously will come and conquer. And we still didn't learn lessons from there. Again, when the British came, again non-violence, non-violence, non-violence. And finally, the British actually acknowledged that Viceroy, he acknowledged that, Clement Attlee. He said India got freedom mainly because Subhash Chandra Bose and the revolutionaries and the INA was a threat. Because the naval mutiny was created because of INA. And the people who were Indians in the British Army and the British Navy, they revolted against the British. British got shaken up after that. Now we can't control this land. But it is still, we are brainwashed that we got बिना खड़ग बिना ढाल आजादी हमको मिल गई. कहां से बिना खड़ग बिना ढाल मिली? कितने लोग मर गए? How many people sacrificed their lives? But we didn't learn our lessons and we continue to get brainwashed. So if history is taught to us with the lessons to be learned from it, then we will not repeat. Purana is meant for that, to give us this right understanding of dharma, so that we purify our mind and we try to see the oneness in the whole creation, and through that realize the goal of life. That's the basic structure of the Puranas. So through these 5 aspects, this is what is conveyed. Now, Purana also is called the Shabda Praman. It is a valid means of knowledge. Like Veda is the Shabda Praman. Purana also is coming under that category only. It is a Shabda Praman, so it is valid means of knowledge to know about the creation, creator, creature, and the essential oneness. And hence, Purana is a very important Praman to understand the oneness, the Tattva. And Purana also has what we call as Sambhava Praman. Lot of possibilities are there in Puranas. Like when we study about Vimanas. Now in Puranas, when Vimanas are mentioned, it doesn't mean that everybody was using helicopter and aeroplanes at that time on earth. But the possibility exists of Vimana. And hence we see that, okay, in future at some point in time, aeroplanes, etc. are there. Gender change happens in Puranas. Are we not seeing today that surgeries can be done to change one's gender? Those possibilities are there. Like in Mahabharata, when it is said that Vedavyas ji, he divided that fetus that came out of Gandhari into 100 pieces and put them in jars and put ghee in that, and certain description is given. Today we know that there are test tube babies which are possible. It need not be exactly the test tube baby as described in science. As I said, Puranic literature, there's a mystical style to it when it is written. But indications are given that these are possibilities. So it is called Sambhav Praman, that these are possibilities which are there. Because what is the meaning of Praman? Praman means to reveal the knowledge. That which helps us to know is called Praman. So our senses are Praman. So through eyes I can know the form, through ears I can know the sound, through tongue I can know the taste of food. So through them I come to know. Pramana means that. So same way, when I study the Puranas, I come to know about Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. And some things, as I said, are poetical, some things are mystical, some things are metaphorical, some things are real, historical, some things are scientific, some things are symbolic. So different ways in which certain things are written. Also, we understand Purana gives us a more holistic view. So when we say Adi Daivik, Adi Bhautik, Adhyatmik level, where do we know from that these three levels exist? Puranas elaborate this. And Puranas also speak about the connection of these three levels beautifully. Please remember, these three are not exclusive levels. They all are interconnected. So when we say Indra, there is a Devata called Indra. Then there is a phenomenal force in the Adi Bhautik level where rains come by the grace of this Indra. And Indra is also the presiding deity of our hands. So Adi Daivik, Adi Bhautik, Adhyatmik level, all the three are connected. Like we say Surya. Surya is a Devata also. Surya is a star in the solar system also. And Surya is the presiding deity for our eyes to see. Now that is the connection which we understand through the Puranic literature. Upanishads don't elaborate this connection, they only hint at it. Like Prashnopanishad right now, what we are doing Saturday mornings, it hints. But the details you will find in the Puranic literature. So that's the connection of how Vedas and Puranas they are so interconnected. Not only that, there are certain times when these devatas also come on the earth. That we don't understand. Like there are people who have had darshan of the deities. Forget Bhagwan. Deities also they have had darshan of. Many people who have gone to Kailash Mansarovar, they tell me that early morning, many times they find bright lights coming down from the sky, taking a dip in the Manasarovar and going back. They are called the Devatas. They are luminous objects. It appears as though they are some luminous objects, but they are Devatas coming down in that form, going back. So the Puranic literature says that at certain times in creation, when the minds were so evolved and pure, etc., there was a proper interaction between humans and the Devatas. Today we are not able to appreciate that because our minds have become more grosser and we dismiss it saying, "Arey, what, these Devatas, they don't exist at all." But Devatas have existed. There have been interaction between Devatas and humans also. So we have to understand that's how Purana makes our mind expand. Now just think about creation, about time, about space, about values, about various levels, various types of beings. When we read this whole vast literature, how our mind will be? It just expands like anything. And in and through all that, so many sadhanas are given. So Purana is very, very bhakti pradhan. In Vedas, upasanas are indicated, and many of the upasanas are through nature. But in Purana, there is a complete personification also that happens, so that human emotions can get anchored. So various avatars of Bhagavan, if you want to know, where will you study the avatars? They all are there in the Puranas. Like we say there is only 10 avatars, but there are so many avatars of Vishnu Bhagavan. Bhagavatam lists some 24. You know, even Garuda Puran, there will be some avatars. Markandeya Puran, there are avatars. So not only avatars of Vishnu Bhagavan, there are avatars of Shivji also. So to understand avatar, to understand Bhagavan, to understand various forms, to build a relationship, and then to surrender, Puranas are beautiful method to integrate the head and the heart. The principles of Upanishads are elaborated in the Puranas, and one can surrender, one can build a relationship with that Saguna Brahman. So Purana will elaborate about Saguna Sakar Brahman. That same Brahman of the Upanishads, which is Nirgun Nirakar, will be elaborated in different ways in the Puranas. The Saguna Sakar Brahman. And not only that, as I said earlier, the Puranas will also divide. Puranas also are divided based on the Ishta Devata. So in Shiva Puran, Shiva will be the supreme. Whole creation comes out from him. In Devi Bhagavatam, Devi will be supreme, Shiva will be at his feet. In Ganesh Puran, Ganesh is supreme. So when we study these Puranas, then we get confused, saying, "Arey, here he is supreme, there she is supreme, there another person is supreme." Just tell me who is supreme. Just ek koi batao, bas. Arey, you have not understood the principle. Principle is there is only one truth appearing as all these, and whichever form you love, that form consider it as supreme and read that literature, so your Shraddha will increase in that literature. Very interesting story of Shivji, you know. Shivji's marriage. So the Pandit is asking Shivji, who is your father? Shivji said, Brahmaji is my father. Who is your grandfather? He said, Vishnu Bhagavan is my grandfather. Who is Vishnu Bhagavan's father? He said, I am Vishnu Bhagavan's father. That Pandit got confused, saying, what are you saying? Because Shivji as Tattva is the uncaused cause. But as a form of Shivji, then he says, okay, Vishnu Bhagavan, from Vishnu came Brahma, from Brahma came I. That is one type of description. Another type of description will be from Shiva came Brahma and Vishnu. In Vishnu Puran, in Bhagavatam and Vishnu Puran, etc., from Vishnu comes Brahma and Shiva. We should not confuse. Each Purana has a certain way of expression, but the basic principle is there is one absolute truth. So as I was saying, I will conclude by telling you the division. So it is believed that there are totally 64 Puranas approximately, but in that 18 are called Mahapuranas, 18 are Upapuranas, and the rest are secondary Upapuranas. Sorry, 18 are Puranas, 18 Upapuranas. All the 18 Puranas are not called Mahapuran actually. Mahapuran covers 11 topics. Purana will cover 5 topics. 5 what we saw: Sarga, Pratisarga, Manvantara, Vamsha, Vamshanucharita. Those are 5 topics which every Purana will cover. But a Mahapuran will cover 6 more topics. That is called, so Bhagavatam is called Mahapuran. So there are 18 Puranas, which include some Mahapuranas also. Then there are 18 Upapuranas, and the rest are secondary Upapuranas. Now these Puranas, 18 major Puranas, are divided into 3 categories. So they are Vaishnava Puranas. So Vishnu Puran, Naradiya Puran, Vaman Puran, Matsya Puran, Garud Puran, Bhagavat Puran. These are 6 Vaishnava Puranas. 6 Brahma Puranas are which glorify Brahmaji. So Brahma Puran, Bhavishya Puran, Agni Puran, Brahma Vaivarth Puran, Brahmananda Puran, Padma Puran. And 6 Shaiva Puranas which will glorify Shivji. They are Shiva Puran, Linga Puran, Kurma Puran, Markandeya Puran, Skanda Puran, Varaha Puran. Now you say, oh, why only Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh? Please remember, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh are possible only because of the Shakti, which is Maya Shakti. So without Maya Shakti, these forms also will not happen. Brahman plus Maya only become Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Oh, but what about Devi? So in the Upa Puranas, there is Sanat Kumar Puran, Narsimha Puran, Brihad Naradiya Puran, Shiva Dharma, Durvasa Puran, Kapil Puran, Vaman Puran, Bhargav Puran, Varun Puran, Kalika Puran, Samba Puran, Nandikeshwar Puran, Surya Puran, Parashar Puran, Vasishtha Puran, Devi Bhagavat Puran, Ganesh Puran, Hamsa Puran. These are 18 Upa Puranas. In that, Devi Bhagavatam is specifically for the Devi Upasana. And many others also, like this Padma Puran, Skanda Puran, they also have stories of Devi. So it's not that Devi stories are not there in any other Purana. They will be there. But specifically the Purana highlighting Devi as the supreme is the Devi Bhagavatam and Kalika Purana. 2 of them mainly. So this is the literature. This is the whole aspect about the Puranas and how they are actually the magnifying glass for the Vedas. So this is where I will stop. Any questions anyone has, you are welcome to unmute and ask. If I can answer, I will. You know, I just want to tell you one thing before we conclude, because a lot of people have some questions and doubts. So I'm just going to tell one thing, and that is, where is that? See, Garud Purana, so many people are scared of this Garud Purana. Now this Garud Puran, Vishnu Bhagwan reveals this to Brahmaji and Lord Shiva. And it is said that Kashyap Rishi brought back a withered tree to life, which was infected with snake poison with the help of Garud Vidya, which are the sacred mantras found in Garud Puran. Now, what does Garud Puran have? We generally think that Garud Puran is only about life after death and Vaitarni Nadi, and then one will become ghost, and then one dan has to be done, otherwise the crocodiles will eat you, and how one suffers in the Raurav Naraka and all that. But see the topics. I'm just going to list the topics so that you understand. Garud Puran has creation in various sargas explaining the beginning of the creation and reproduction. It has various dynasties. It has powerful mantras like Navagraha mantra, Shiva mantra, Vishnu mantra, Saraswati mantra, Lakshmi mantra. It has astrology, yoga, muhurtas for various activities, and Griha Dasha also. Then it has also prediction based on physical traits, predicting age on the basis of the lines on the foreheads, predicting age by palmistry, prediction based on the physical traits of women. Specifically for women, they have that portion. Then various names of Shaligram on the basis of chakras, origin of jewels, important places of pilgrimage, significance of Gaya Tirtha, tales that glorify the significance of performing the rituals for the dead at Gaya through the story of King Vishal. It has the tale of Prajapati Ruchi and his wife Manini. It has various consecrations to purify a person, to purify man. Upanayana ritual, Keshanta ritual, Grahasthashram rituals, prohibited days for copulation, purification of different articles made of substances like gold, silver, conch, vegetable, leather, and so on. Description of rituals for the dead, karma and its consequences, atonement for the sins. Different kinds of austerities like yama, niyama. Then various vratas, virtues of observing fast on Shivratri, power of brahmacharya, story of Ramayana, Shri Krishna, the Mahabharata, the eternal truth, the supreme yoga, the supremacy of devotion, various stotras like Narsimha Stotra, Kalamrit Stotra, Mrityu Ashtaka Stotra, salvation through yoga, self-realization, Brahma Gita, existence of the divinity in human beings, proper ritual for the dead for salvation as explained by Krishna to Garuda to clear his doubts, death and thereafter, and the significance of the Pindadan. Now in this, just look at the vast topics it covers. Death, significance of Pindadan, Gaya, Shraddha is a very small portion of Garuda Puran. So we should not think here Garuda Puran is terrible, it is all talking all this only. It is talking so many beautiful aspects. So my point is, just like you study, Harry Potter series, how many books have come? 5 books, 7 books, whatever they are. Study. Puranas are our most ancient Harry Potter series before Harry Potter even came into existence. Puranas are there. 18 main Puranas, 18 Upapuranas. Then the rest of them sub-Upapuranas. And we still feel bored in life. Can you imagine? If a Hindu says, I am bored in life, that fellow is useless, who has not gone through any spiritual literature properly. Amount of knowledge available for Hindus is so much that lifetimes are not enough to explore. And the Hindu says, I am still bored in life. Explore these Puranas. They are most amazing. That's my final point. Thank you. Go ahead, Pushpaji.
Yes, as there were no further questions, I'll call upon Lalita Menon of Chamni Hitkari and Pushpa Palat's Tuesday class to please deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Swamiji, for a fabulous and enlightening special session. Swamiji, we have more clarity on this topic now, and several of our queries relating to the symbolisms implied in the Puranas are answered. I thank all the Devi group members for being here today. Thank you.
We are studying Bhagavatam on Tuesdays. Some of you may be aware. If you want to, please join Bhagavatam class. We have just completed 2 and 3/4 of the chapters. We are on the 3rd chapter and Kapil Gita is going on right now.
Yes.
If anybody wants to join, you are welcome.
Lovely. Thank you, Lalita. And thank you, Swamiji. I request Rekha Shroff and Sheetal Mehta from Darshana Ji's Saturday class to lead us in the Chinmaya Mission Pledge. We request all of you to keep your hand above your heart and your eyes closed while we take the pledge.
We stand as one family. We stand as one family, bound to each other with love and respect. We serve as an army. We serve as an army, courageous and disciplined, ever ready to fight against all our low tendencies and false values within and without us. We live honestly the noble life of sacrifice and service producing more than what we consume and giving more than what we take.
We seek the Lord's grace to keep us on our path of virtue, courage, and wisdom. May thy grace and blessings flow through us to the world around us. We believe that the service of our country is the service of the Lord of Lords, and devotion to the people is a devotion to the Supreme Self. We know our responsibilities. Give us the ability and courage to fulfill them. Om Tat Sat.
Thank you, Rekha, Sheetal. Thank you. The Aarti now will be performed by Vibhaji and sung by Smita Malelo from Pushpa and Chandni's Tuesday class and Vibhasha of Vibhaji's Tuesday class.
Shall I start?
Yes.
आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की दिव्य रूप मूर्ति करुणा की। आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की दिव्य रूप मूर्ति करुणा की। आरती सद्गुरु की।
चरणों में उनके शांति समाए, शरणागत की भ्रांति मिटाए। पाप ताप संताप हरण की। आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की। आरती सद्गुरु की। वेद उपनिषद गीता को गाया, धर्म सनातन फिर से जगाया। शुद्ध नीति प्रीति शंकर की। आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की। आरती सद्गुरु की। सिद्ध पहाड़ी की तपोभूमि में नित्य विराजे गुरु हमारे। भक्त हृदय आनंद स्रोत की। आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की। आरती सद्गुरु की। आरती सद्गुरु की। सद्गुरु साईनाथ सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय।
Thank you, Smita. Thank you,
One
Vibha.
second. Pushpa ji, 1 minute. Om na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam neemavrityuto bhanti krito yam agnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. Shri Sadgurunath Maharaj ki jai. Everyone can take the aarti. Yeah, Pushpa.
Yeah, thank you, Vibhaji. Vibhaji, you wanted to announce some upcoming programs?
Yeah, I'm doing that.
All right.
Hari Om. Thank you, Swamiji, for such a fantastic talk that you've given today. I would like to inform everyone present here that some few upcoming programs we have are, the first one is the 8G HD sessions for children. They are monthly sessions on the glory of Hindu Dharma, and they are sessions for 5 to 8-year-olds, which is today, 10th of July, from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. and for 9 to 12-year-olds on 11th July from 3 to 4:30 p.m. So kindly, in case you have children in that age, You can inform them or you can inform friends and relatives who have.
Do you have the pamphlet? Because then they know where to register. Otherwise, they don't know.
Swamiji, we'll have to put it on the chat, I guess, or I'll send it on the class chats. We have sent it earlier on the class chats. Yes. Soul Ahar is a fabulous program designed by Swamiji. It's on the 18th of July from 4 to 6 p.m. It's online on Zoom. And the topic is Soulful Living by Mindful Eating. And the interaction is between Swamiji and a celebrity chef, Amrita Raichand. So kindly note this date in your diaries and you could watch it online. The next one is Guru Purnima Satsang on the 24th of July. There is Paduka Puja and Satsang from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Again, it will be online. We will be sharing the link with you. Then there is a Mahasamadhi Day 3rd August program, which is followed by Satsang. It is from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. online again. And then the last one is the Shravan Somvar Sadhana. We've been doing this Shravan Somvar Sadhana. The dates are on 9th of August, we have the Mahamrityunjay Havan. On 16th of August, there is Samohik chanting. On 23rd August, there is Shiv Mahima Stotram chanting. And on 30th August, there is Rudra Abhishek. And on 6th September, we have talk and meditation. The timings for this are 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Swamiji, if you would like to add anything.
No, so the announcements will be shared on your class chats. Then you can register appropriately for or note down the Zoom meeting details and you can join us. Thank you.
Vibhaji, can I correct you? I think the Guru Purnima is on the 23rd of July, not the 24th. The flyer says
24th July only it is.
Your Swamiji, your program this is?
Yeah.
Okay. Hari Om, sir.
I don't know if the Sagar Zone has planned separately something else.
Yeah, that's on 23rd. Okay.
Possible, yeah.
Now we will go to the concluding prayer, which will be led by Anjali Gupte and Nanki Arora, both from Vibhaji's Wednesday class.
Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukha bhag bhavet, asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Thank you so much, Swamiji. Once again, from all of us. We've had a fascinating session. And we are going to transcribe it, Swamiji, within 10 days. And we should we share it with you or with somebody else?
Yeah, you can share it with me. Okay. Edit it into a written format of an article so that it need not be in the language of a talk. Then we can upload it on social media, etc.
Swamiji will take a Zoom fee with you because we've taken without you, but we'll just take it with you.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, done. Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Swamiji. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Hari Om,
Hari Om, everyone. Thank you.
Hari Om, everyone. Hari Om.
Thank you.
Hari Om.